I guess our biggest fear is that if things continue to go up in price and inflate, are we going to be able to keep up? My name is Carolyn Kozlov. I live in Richmond Hill. I live with my boyfriend Darren with our 3 children. We met a little while ago and decided to move in together and blend our families in this house. It's fun, a little hectic, but it's a great time. When Darren and I originally were sitting down talking about it, we really thought that by coming together and doing groceries together and paying our bills together, that it would work out to be less. And in fact, it's just significantly more than we could have even really imagined. We never anticipated that it would be this difficult to find a rental property. We missed out several times because we were outbid. We even had people who were prepaying 1 to 2 years rent. We had to move further and further north because there just wasn't anything available in our price point. And it felt like, really hopeless at certain points. We definitely paid, I would say, at least $500 more per month than what we were hoping to spend. Inflation has affected us in basically every category, but specifically groceries has really affected us. Things that we're used to buying like beef, tofu, salmon, broccoli, spinach, berries, all the stuff that, we eat, we try to eat clean, and having to, contend with the prices of everything right now has just made our entire grocery bill just go up by so much. Gas is a huge expense that's gone up for us. We really don't know when gas increased this much, but it feels like it was basically overnight. Both Darren and I drive a significant amount for work. Every week we're spending probably double what we were spending on gas at the beginning of the year. So some of the other categories for us that have gone up are stuff like our car insurance, our renter's insurance, even camp for our kids went up, clothing for kids. It's almost endless. So when we're looking at our monthly expenses and then we're adding up every category that's gone up so much, it's really concerning. If everything continues to go up, what does that mean? What's it gonna look like? And you can't help but worry. I mean, we'd absolutely love to know when this is gonna end. I think we look at things on a month-by-month basis and, we're hopeful that things will go back to the way they were or come down, but at this point, we really don't know, and that's scary.
So it feels like nearly everyone is feeling the impact of inflation these days. Here to talk more about this, personal finance expert Rubina Ahmed-Haq. So, Rubina, Carolyn talked about rents there. We're sitting in a city right now where rental prices spiked, 17% year over year, 6% in the second quarter. We've never seen it jump that high that fast. This pattern is repeating in Canada. What on earth do you tell people who are in the rental market now? Do they offer to do home repairs for a cut in rent? What do you do?
That is actually a very great idea, an excellent way to save some money on your rent. If you are a tenant getting into a new property, you can talk to your landlord. Could you give me a cut on the rent if I cut the grass, if I cleared the snow, if I took the garbage out for other tenants? So say you live in a triplex and there's a system where all the garbage is collected in one area. You could tell them, well, I'll be responsible for making sure it gets out and the bins get back in. And the landlord has to usually pay for those services, especially the grass cutting and the snow removal. So for them to save that money, they may be able to give you a little bit of a cut on the rent that you are agreeing to in that lease.
So I remember growing up hearing, do not ever pay more than 30% of your income a month on rent. That kind of seems impossible now. And I'm wondering, what are you hearing that people are actually spending, and what do you think they should be spending?
So people are spending, in some cases, 50 to 60% of their income on their rent alone. And you're right, shelter costs usually should be about 30%. And that's shelter and hydro in combination. It should be about 30% of your income. And that is much higher right now, especially in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, where rents are much higher. One way that you can mitigate that is by speaking to your employer about getting a raise. With inflation, the way that it is going, it is completely completely reasonable right now, especially in this tight labor market, to go to your employer and say, I need you to bump my wage because it's becoming impossible for me to still survive in the city that I was hired in. And if that doesn't work, looking for another job, especially if you've got skills that are in demand, will often give you the bump that you need in order to afford that apartment and that rent that goes with it.
I can hear a whole bunch of people at home going, so my boss will say no.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I mean, they're also grappling with their own problems with inflation, their higher costs, and now they're dealing with higher labor costs. And they could say to that person, you know, I'm also paying more for hydro, more for gas, more for everything. There's no way I can give you a raise. But really, job seekers are in the driver's seat. So this is a time where if you're going to ask for a raise, ask for it now.
The inflation numbers are out tomorrow. You know, by all descriptions, we're looking at maybe 8%, maybe more, even with all the warnings and all the interest rates. So, like, what is still driving that number so high?
Gasoline. I mean, gasoline in May was up 48% year over year. Most Canadians don't live in a city where they can take transit, walk, or bike, which is something that I love to promote, but I know it's not a reality for the majority of Canadian families. So getting into the car and pumping gas and having to pay hundreds of dollars more a month in your gas costs is absolutely driving those prices. It's making it more expensive to truck, produce from one place to another. So when it gets to the grocery store, they have to charge you more for it because it costs more. It's just driving the price of everything right now. And that is the main thing that we're looking at to come down so that inflation also can start to get cooler with gasoline prices when they start to cool down as well.
All right, a little bit of potential good news there, hopefully in the future. Rubina Ahmed-Haq, thank you as always.
Thank you for having me.